Hey everyone, Magic Sword here, and boy howdy, more Tempo Priest support. Yes, I am still clinging to that. Every passing day, my power grows as Blizzard releases more support for this ridiculous archetype that I want to happen. So, we have High Abbess Alura, 4 mana, 3/6, Priest Paladin card. Spell Burst, cast a spell from your deck, targets this if possible. Clearly, this is intended to work with buff spells primarily. Um, if you have no buff spells, but also no spells that are eligible to target that, it will target an enemy or your own face, I suppose, potentially instead. So, let's think about that. We have obvious choice in Libram Paladin. You play a Libram, cheat out like a Libram of Hope, and then you win the game on because you just played an 8/8 on 4. It is unanswerable. Nade it with Divine Shield on 4. Or, even if you just cheat out one of your Librams of Wisdom, now it's in the rotation, right? You already have, you played 1 to activate it on 4 because you got a lucky discount, then you played it again with the Spell Burst, and holy crap, now you just have, you're rotating both your Librams already, right? Or you play that, the new card, the clone one, I'll put it up. Yeah, okay, so you play that, you clone her, and then both of them activate the spell burst, right? Because of order of events here. You clone, and then that completes the spell, and then spell burst procs because it's an after spell is cast effect, right? So this is a very obvious place in Paladin, and again, I think this is going to fit into that Tempo Priest archetype that it feels like they're pushing. Notably, in fact, this is just another point in favor of Tempo Priest because it's a point against traditional Control Priest. This has anti-synergy with your control tools. If you watch the animation, this was demonstrated pretty clearly. It played like a Plague of Death and a Shadow Word Pain and a Time Rip, and it just killed the Alura every time because, of course, it does. That's what the text says it will do. So I really think that this is what they're trying to tell us. They're saying Control Priest is no more. We heard you hated infinite value gain, so we just made that archetype obsolete. I think that's what they're trying to do. Whether they'll be successful is totally a different question, but to me, I started like a few days ago thinking, oh, maybe this is like a zoo, kind of an aggressive. No. It's definitely a tempo deck. They're definitely pushing Tempo Priest. I will die on that hill. So, let's step away from Priest for a second. Forest Warden Omu, 6 mana 5/4, Spell Burst, refresh your mana crystals. Because we don't learn our lesson with giving Druid mana refresh. So, I initially thought of this for combo, and I didn't really get anywhere with what to do with it in a combo deck, because it's like, how often, I guess it on 10 you can play a Psych Melon after this, and then you'll have 10 mana again. So if you like don't have your combo yet by 10 mana somehow, you could do this and draw up the rest of the pieces, potentially. Although that means that you haven't played Psych Melon yet, which means you either just top decked it or you've been holding it, which is definitely not what you're supposed to do. I don't play a lot of combo Druid. I don't think that's how you play that deck. And that's in Wild, of course. For Standard implications, I have no clue. I have no idea what you would use this for in Standard for a combo. Couldn't really think of any Druid spells that cost, I was going to say 4, potentially 5 or less. Because of the nature studies, we know that will reduce the next spell you cast by 1, so you could fit a 5-cost spell in there, potentially. The better answer, and I think this does actually have a pretty good place in this style of deck, is that this should be played in conjunction with low-tempo spells. So, it's kind of like you turn anything like a Nourish into like a really slow, like just let me draw, don't kill me please, into a Firelens portal. Suddenly you're summoning a 5/4 body with it, right? Unfortunately, you need to spend the mana on this first, then use a cheap spell to refresh your crystals, and then use the big low tempo spell. But I think that is actually fine because Druid has so many cheap spells. Especially, I foresee this not coming out on 6 often. I think on 7 is a much more likely thing, which means that you get your free Iron Bark, you get your free Bog Beam, right? So I think that is going to be the answer here. So then you play this, get your 5/4 Bog Beam for free, refresh those 6 mana crystals, play Nourish. You either ramp or draw, and then you're set because you didn't set yourself horribly behind on board this time. I think this is a really good support card for a card that, like Nourish, that actually hasn't seen so much play lately. I don't know, tell me if I'm missing anything about combo. I really am not too familiar with it, so I could totally be blind to something here. Next up, Lord Barov. This is incredibly strong. I don't think anyone will disagree about that. And if you do, that is a hotter take than Tempo Priest. This is a 3 mana 3/2 Battlecry. Set the health of all other minions, to 1. Don't we have a spell that does that? Doesn't it cost 4 by itself? This is a 3/2 body. So, that used to cost 2, and that was like a good deal then. 4 is like kind of weak. Like inarguably weak. So this is a little different now, right? So if you compare it to a 2 mana spell, it's still a 3 mana 3/2, or basically a 1 mana 3/2 body with upside. Right? So people are really obsessing over like the combo of like this death rattle, and I'm just kind of like, how do you proc it? Like, if the idea is this is supposed to be your new equality consecration, how do you proc this the same turn it's played? So you battle cry, and then it's like, oh, I don't know, I whirlwind? Well, no, because then I'm just clearing everything anyway. Any sort of warrior whirlwind effect, any sort of warrior board clear is symmetrical. So it's just gonna kill the other guys first anyway. And that's honestly fine. Giving this effect to warrior is absolutely maddening. This is an insta-kill with Risky Skipper, right? You can just destroy the board, kill everything with Risky Skipper. Fine, whatever. Be allowed to do that, I guess. Paladin, similar story. What are you killing this with? I guess Terran Gorefiend is an option if you want to... I mean, that's already run in Egg Warrior, right? I think this fits pretty naturally in all the warrior decks. This is actually the first instance, maybe not the first. I'm struggling to think of anything else, though. That I'd say this is primarily Paladin flavor, because that Death Rattle is kind of like a secondary effect, right? This is Battlecry, set everything to 1 health. That is a super Paladin card. That is Primo Paladino. And it's very powerful in warrior. It's like the cross effect here is that you functionally have a Paladin spell that is strong in warrior, or a Paladin effect that is strong in warrior. And the warrior effect isn't that strong in Paladin. So this is one of I think the best examples of like for example, the other warrior legendary is like, oh, it's a warrior legendary that also rogue can use, but mostly it's just a warrior legendary. Like, it feels like a warrior legendary and it belongs in warrior. This feels like a Paladin legendary but belongs in warrior, right? That's the difference. So as for Paladin uses, again, this is a cheaper way to set up your consecration, I think, really, or your pyromancer or whatever. It is just a cheaper equality. That said, it's still very good. It is a cheaper equality with a body, after all. But I don't think it's the end-all be-all OP broken value town card that Trump was hyping it up to be. I think this would be fairly costed at 4 still. And I think that's probably something to consider, right? But I don't think you are really getting all that much from having it cost 3 instead. So we'll see. I could totally be wrong on that. This just has such a high power level, Next up, Instructor Fireheart. She doesn't belong here. She's from a few days ago. I totally forgot about her, so I'm throwing her in here. You could skip timestamps down below, or using the chapters on the time bar thing. So, 3 mana 3/3, Battlecry. Discover a spell that costs 1 or more. If you play it this turn, repeat this effect. We'll keep this quick, just in case you forget how to skip sections here. So, this looks like some sort of value shaman card, which is beautiful. Love it. Love that style of play for shaman with, like, just infinitely generating spells, right? Well, not infinitely necessarily. They're not letting you use 0 mana spells, right? And that's by design. I think I read somewhere that they didn't have that stipulation on it, and that it just totally murdered everything. It was such a strong card. So this is very strong class ID for Shaman. This is like, it's a battle cry card. For some reason, that's like a Shaman thing now. And it just keeps on generating spells. It keeps on going, generating value. And I love that. I love that for Shaman. I love that in general. I think this is going to be a very strong card and can fit in pretty much anything that isn't too concerned with tempo. Next up, Survival of the Fittest. People are losing their minds over this card. And again, this is another card. Maybe you've seen it. It got leaked like a week ago, and I decided not to review it because I wanted to do along the official release schedule in case anything changed. 10 mana, give +4/+4 to all minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. That sounds like Value Town, right? Again, a big value. This is, how should I say this? A little clunky for my liking. This is clearly meant to work with Kalthus. Clearly, right? 10 mana spells, you immediately think, I want to discount this, I want it for free. Well, here's the thing about Kalthus. Usually run him with a lot of small spells. Like a lot. Like, he is one of 3 minions in your deck, which means that mostly you're not actually benefiting from this card all that much without a setup turn. And in that case, you are setting up with a Mount Seller, in which case you already won the game, right? Like, if you are playing Mount Seller and you have a big Mount Seller combo turn and you have a super wide board ready to be buffed up +4/+4, yeah, you and your army of King Muklas is just going to dominate the enemy's face. As for making a deck that's minion-centric enough to keep this Kalthusable still, minion-centric but also not without spells, I'm not so sure. This, like I said, is very clunky. This could be a finisher in those spell-based decks if you have like a Glowfly Swarm setup, right? If you have Glowfly Swarm on the board and you've given it Soul of the Forest to make it survivable, you can do that. You can do this the next turn, because I doubt you're going to drop Kalthus on 7 and just pray that he survives, right? I don't know. I think clunky really is the best word for this. I just do not see it working out that well. It's just so much and the things you have to do to make it work, I think are antithetical to what it's trying to do. It just really doesn't work out in my mind. I hope I'm wrong. Well, I don't like this. I don't want to live in a meta where this exists and is good. So I hope I'm right. But also, if I'm proven wrong, I'll take it, right? We'll see. All right. Last card. This is a little bit later in the day now. 10 p.m. when it released. I said on Twitter I kind of wanted a card that was really simple to rate, nothing too complex. There's a lot to consider here. It is a 9 mana 10/10 Demon Hunter Demon, Ancient Voidhound. At the end of your turn, steal 1 attack and health from all enemy minions. This is not only not a simple card, it is actually a unique effect. This just gets huge, right? And reduces the damage on board from your opponent. It's sort of like just imagine what this does to a late game druid, right? You just have all those like 3 drops on the board. That's a pretty scary board state. But then you take 1 attack. That's like, a third of their whole attack, right? I don't know. I think this is probably too slow because, the real threat of that wide druid board is all the buffs that it can throw on, and not the least of which is Savage Roar, which was just, doesn't matter that you reduced its attack by 1, right? Because for 3 mana, it just put it right back and doubled that, right? So this gets really big. If you could somehow trick Taunt onto it, if you could somehow summon it for free, that could be interesting. If you had if Demon Hunter had some sort of way to trick demons out of its hand and or deck, that could be good. But as it stands, This just feels really slow. It's kind of like reminds me of Gruul in that, you just play it and it's there and it's a big body, but that's all you do with your turn. This does have the added benefit of, again, that attack and health reduction. Now, what's unclear to me is that if a minion is on 1 health, does it take it down to 0? Let's say it's injured down to 1 health, it doesn't take it down to 0. Probably not. If it's at 1 health max, that would probably kill it, right? So, not that there are that many 1 health threats, but if it is the case that if it's on 1 health, it goes down to 0. Holy crap! This could kill a Colossus of the Moon through its Reborn, right? So it comes back, it has Divine Shield, it's a 10-1. Well, you drop this and it kills Colossus of the Moon. Not that that's a relevant card in like any deck. I see it sometimes in Wild, but just as an example, this rips through Divine Shield because it's a flat health reduction, not any sort of damage. So that's something to consider, I guess. Again, overall, I think this is too slow. It tries to avoid a little bit of that pitfall that Gruul falls into by being generally stronger, 9 for 10 instead of, 8 for 8 for Gruul? Well, because, at the end of the turn it buffs up, right? So overall, I'd say too slow, kind of unimpressed. Glad that they made this kind of easy to rate, which probably means I'm overlooking something, but we'll pretend I'm not. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out the rest in the playlist there. Subscribe for more. We'll be going up tomorrow with those releases in the morning, as well as I'll be sending out more frequent takes on Twitter, probably my first impressions, general thoughts on everything that's happening. Make sure you follow me there, and I will be live streaming at some point. Again, I have been not doing that too much lately, but I just prefer YouTube content, so it's kind of hard to I don't feel like playing Hearthstone that much. I'll probably play Battlegrounds the next time I stream though. So you want to see what 6.5k, that's like generously rounding up, looks like in Battlegrounds, come check me out. And that's everything. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow.